Welcome to Timeless Religious Stories, where faith, struggle, and divine moments come to life. New stories shared daily.
They say your life flashes before your eyes when you die. That's not true. At least, it wasn't for me. What flashed before my eyes was static, gray and white and endless, like an old TV tuned to a dead channel. But behind the noise, I could hear something, like breathing, like something ancient was watching me through the static. But let me rewind. My name is Daniel Clay. I'm 47. I sell medical equipment out of Tucson, Arizona. 2 kids. Divorced. Normal enough life. Live paycheck to paycheck, nothing dramatic. No ghosts, no voices, no cults. I believed in God, but the kind of belief you keep in the glove box, just in case. The day I died started like any other. I was driving back from Flagstaff on I-17 after a sales call that had gone south. My client, a hospital administrator with caffeine breath and a handshake like wet lettuce, had rejected the proposal I spent a month building. I'd missed lunch. I was tired, angry, and halfway through a lukewarm gas station coffee. It was just past 6 p.m. The Arizona sun was turning the horizon into lava. Then came the deer. I never saw it jump. Just movement, a flicker of muscle and fur, and then impact. My head hit the steering wheel. Airbag never deployed. I remember metal screaming, tires lifting, and then the sick, floating silence as the car flipped. You'd think crashing feels like violence. But for me, it felt like slow motion heartbreak. Like the world exhaling. Then nothing. No pain. No blackness. Just that static. I don't know how long I floated in it. Minutes? Hours? Time didn't work there. It stretched and snapped like an old rubber band. And I swear I wasn't alone. I couldn't see anyone, but I could feel something near me. Not with eyes, but with the same sense that tells you when someone's watching from a dark hallway. The static wasn't sound. It was presence. It had weight. Then all at once it receded, like a tide. And I was standing, not floating, on what looked like nothing. A blank plane that wasn't floor, wasn't sky. It was placeholder, like reality hadn't rendered yet. And then he appeared. Not walked in. Not emerged. Just was. A man, but not a man. Human-shaped, but overflowing. Like trying to bottle a hurricane in a wine glass. His face shifted, brown, gold, white, no race and every race. His eyes, like looking into the memory of fire. And I knew. Somehow, without question, I knew it was Jesus. But not Sunday school Jesus. Not the soft-voiced shepherd holding a lamb. This was the Jesus of Job, the voice from the whirlwind. The one who says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" And he looked at me. Not like a man looks. He didn't see my clothes or body. He saw through it, into every moment I ever lived. Every lie I told, every kindness I buried. My entire life unfolded like blueprints in a single glance. He didn't speak. He just said, without words, "You are not in control. None of you are." And that's when the fear hit me. Not fear of punishment. Not even fear of death. It was the fear of smallness. The unbearable realization that everything I thought I chose, every move, every decision, every regret, was part of some larger, invisible system. A system that didn't care whether I believed in it or not. I woke up in the ICU screaming. My neck was in a brace. Tubes in my arms. Alarms beeping. A nurse called for help. I couldn't stop shaking. Not because I was hurt. Because I remembered. The static. The presence. Him. And the truth he left me with. We're being watched. Not just monitored, but measured. Every action, every silence. And not by angels with wings, but by something older, colder, wiser. Whatever it is, it's not finished with me. And I don't think I'm the only one who's seen it. They told me I was lucky. That's the word the ER doctor used. Lucky. You flipped 4 times, he said, flipping through his clipboard like it was a menu. No internal bleeding, no spinal injury, not even a broken rib. We see people with paper cuts get it worse. He smiled, like the universe had thrown me a favor. I didn't smile back, because I didn't feel lucky. I felt wrong, as if something had been peeled off of me, and something else had been put in its place. They let me go after 2 days. Standard concussion protocol, painkillers, a referral to a therapist named Dr. Hill. The nurse handed me a plastic bag with my wallet, phone, and a crumpled receipt from the gas station where I had bought the coffee. The coffee I never got to finish. When I got home, my house didn't feel like mine. Everything was where it should be. The crooked family photo in the hallway, the smell of old carpet and cinnamon air freshener, but it felt like I was visiting, not returning, as if the place had moved on without me. That night, the static came back. Not in full, not like before, but in flashes. When I closed my eyes, I saw figures, not people. Shapes, tall and thin, standing in impossible angles. Faces blurred like smeared oil on glass. Watching. Always watching. I snapped awake covered in sweat. At 2:13 a.m., my phone rang. Block number. I let it ring out. At 2:14 a.m., it rang again. Block number. I answered. Silence. But not empty silence. It sounded like wind blowing through wires, like the kind of silence that contains a message just below hearing range. Then, one sound, click, like someone hanging up, or like someone marking something complete. The next morning, I saw her. Samantha. My daughter. She's 9. My ex-wife brought her by to pick up her piano books. She didn't know about the accident yet. I hadn't told her. I didn't want her to see what I'd become. Samantha ran into the house like always, barefoot, too loud, too happy for the dead thing I'd brought back with me. She looked up at me and froze. Daddy, she said. Why is your shadow doing that? I looked down. My shadow was normal, but her face wasn't lying. She was pale. Her voice, tight and careful, like she thought she'd get in trouble for asking. What do you mean, sweetheart? I asked. She pointed. It's moving the wrong way. Then she blinked. And just like that, it was over. She ran past me like nothing happened. But I stood there, staring at my feet, watching my shadow in the morning sun. It wasn't doing anything strange. Not anymore. That night I called Dr. Hill, the therapist. She sounded nice. Neutral. Professional. We scheduled an appointment for Friday. Before we hung up, she asked, Do you remember losing consciousness during the crash? I paused. Yes. And also, no. I don't think I was unconscious, I said. I think I went somewhere. She didn't laugh. Instead, she said something that made the hairs on my neck rise. You're not the first patient who's told me that lately. The third morning after the accident, I woke up at 4:44 a.m. No alarm. No noise. Just awake. Like something had pulled me out of a dream I wasn't having. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I know how that sounds. Paranoid, cliché. But it wasn't the absence of sound that unsettled me. It was the presence of attention in that silence. Like I was being studied through a microscope by something that didn't blink. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the light. And that's when I saw it. A mark. Small. Black. Just above my right hip, near the bone. The kind of place you'd never notice unless you were looking in a mirror under bright light. It wasn't a bruise. It wasn't a mole. It looked designed. 3 sharp lines, intersecting at strange angles, like a broken trident or a glyph from a language not meant for human mouths. It was too perfect to be accidental. I reached out, touched it. No pain. But the moment my finger made contact, I heard something. Not sound. Tone. A low, vibrating note, like a cello string played too slow for music. It didn't come through my ears. It came from behind my thoughts, humming like a buried power line. I stumbled back from the mirror. The mark stayed. I didn't go to work. I couldn't. Instead, I did what any terrified, half-awake American man does when the universe starts falling apart. I Googled. Strange marks after near-death experience. Symbols seen during clinical death. Jesus vision post-trauma. Page after page of stories. Most garbage. Some, not. I found a Reddit thread, buried deep, no upvotes, probably flagged as spam. The post title read, "Anyone else see him after flatlining?" The body of the post was short. One sentence. "He said we're part of a system that doesn't stop, even when you're dead." I refreshed the page. 404. Post not found. Gone. Like it had never been there. Friday came. Therapy day. I sat in the beige office of Dr. Lena Hill, surrounded by furniture that looked like it had never been touched. Fake plant. A clock that ticked just a little too loud. She had warm eyes, like she'd seen a lot and stopped judging any of it. "Tell me about the accident," she said. So I did. Not just the crash, but the white place. The presence. The feeling of being measured. I told her about Samantha seeing my shadow move wrong. About the mark. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said, "You're not crazy," which somehow felt worse. "I've had 3 patients in the last month say similar things," she continued. "One described a man made of light with no face. Another talked about a place of total silence that screamed when you tried to remember it." I stared at her. "And the third?" She looked down. Hesitated. "He's missing," she said. "Vanished last week." I didn't speak, because deep inside my chest, something had shifted. A pressure. A pulling. Like the world was narrowing into a funnel, and I was at the tip. Dr. Hill leaned forward, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "I shouldn't say this, but whatever this is, it's not just in your head. And you're not alone." Then her phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen, then went pale. "Something wrong?" I asked. She turned the screen toward me. Unknown number. No caller ID. Just one message. "Tell him to stop remembering." There's something about being told, "You're not alone," that makes you feel more alone. I left Dr. Hill's office with that message still burned into my vision. "Tell him to stop remembering." Whoever sent that, whoever they weren't threatening me. They were warning me. And for the first time since the crash, I realized something terrifying. I hadn't been given knowledge. I'd been given permission. Permission to remember something I wasn't supposed to. That night, I sat in my kitchen with a notepad and 2 cups of cold coffee. I wrote down every detail I could recall from the white space. The static. The shape of Jesus. The way he didn't speak but unfolded truth. The phrase, "You are not in control." I drew the mark from my hip. The strange angles. The trident shape that didn't obey normal geometry. I couldn't stop. I felt compelled. Like something in my blood was asking to be released. When I finally looked up, it was 3:02 a.m. I was trembling. My right hand wouldn't stop shaking. And then I remembered the Reddit post. The one that disappeared. So I dug deeper. Not Google. Not Facebook. Dark web. Encrypted boards. Obscure forums. places where conspiracy theorists, whistleblowers, and schizophrenics argued side by side like priests in the wrong church. I found a thread, hidden in a private server. Title: Those Who Returned. It was filled with stories, not identical, but aligned. I saw a man made of fire who showed me the blueprint of my life. After I drowned, I woke up with a symbol on my chest and haven't been able to dream since. He showed me the strings. We're puppets, but the hands are not human. Then I found a name repeated more than once. Michael Alden. He was the first. He saw the whole machine. Then he vanished. An address: El Paso, Texas. Last seen 2 months ago. And just like that, the site crashed. Not froze. Not 404. It blinked out like someone unplugged the entire server. I wasn't kicked. It was erased. Even the IP trace I tried ran into dead loops. That's when the air around me shifted. Not temperature. Not pressure. Meaning. Like the room was suddenly aware of me. I heard it again that night. The tone. That low, vibrating hum, like a frequency that lived under the floorboards of reality. It wasn't in my ears. It was under my thoughts, like a second heartbeat. I followed it, like a moth drawn toward invisible flame, into the hallway. My living room was dark, but not empty. In the center stood a figure. Human-shaped. Tall. Perfectly still. I flicked the light switch. Nothing changed. It wasn't in the room. It was layered over it, like a transparency on top of the real. And in the instant before it vanished, I swear, God help me, I saw its face. Not a monster. Not a demon. My face. But wrong. Tilted, inverted, hollow-eyed. Like someone had built a replica of me out of memory and fear, and forgotten to add the soul. Then it was gone. I didn't sleep. I packed a bag. Booked a car. I was going to El Paso. I needed to know who Michael Alden was. And I needed to know what he saw, before they made me vanish too. The drive to El Paso took 9 hours. I barely remember the desert. Just fragments, long strips of highway that looked the same no matter how far I drove. Gas stations that felt too empty. A single crow that kept pace with me for almost 30 miles. I don't know how I knew it was the same crow. I just did. Michael Alden had lived on the 3rd floor of a rundown apartment complex behind a burned-out strip mall. The kind of place that exists only to house people who don't want to be found. I stood outside his door, 3C, for a long time. The air smelled like mildew and melted rubber. The hallway light above me flickered like it was caught in a loop. I knocked once. Nothing. Knocked again. Still silence. Then I tried the doorknob. It turned. Inside, the apartment was abandoned, but not untouched. No furniture. No personal items. But someone, or something, had scratched into the walls. Hundreds of marks. Symbols. Shapes. Some I recognized from the forums. Others were unfamiliar, almost living in their arrangement. Like music translated into geometry. And in the center of the living room floor, in thick black ink. They built the world inside a cage and forgot to leave the door. I took a photo. My phone died immediately. Dead. No battery. It had been at 82%. When I turned back toward the door, I realized something horrifying. I couldn't remember which direction I had entered from. The apartment wasn't big. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a small kitchenette. But as I walked toward what I thought was the exit, I reached another hallway. Then another room. Then another 3C. Same markings. Same quote on the floor. I was in a loop. Not metaphorically. Physically. Somehow, the geometry of the place had fractured. Space folded in on itself like a Mobius strip. The room was repeating me, copying my motion without resolution. And at the edge of it all, there was a sound. That same tone. Low, ancient, pressing against the walls of sense. I followed it. I had no choice. It led me to the bathroom mirror. And written there, in something I pray was ink, "Michael isn't gone. He's been deactivated." Underneath it, a symbol. A new one. A perfect circle, split by a vertical line. Inside the circle, 3 dots forming a triangle. The moment I looked at it, my vision fractured. I saw a hallway with no doors, only watchers. A black room where people floated, unmoving, being read by machines with eyes. A brief flash of my daughter, asleep, her mouth whispering in reverse. Then, darkness. I came to on the floor. I don't know how long I was out. My phone was back on. 4:44 p.m. Same time as my awakening the other day. And the door was open. Outside, the sun was still out. Cars passed like nothing was wrong. Reality had closed the fold behind me. But it had let me see. Back in the car, I sat for almost an hour. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even drive. I just stared at the new mark that had appeared on my left wrist. The circle with 3 dots. Burned into my skin like it had always been there. And I knew, like an instinct buried under language, whatever system I'd stepped into had now registered me. I was no longer a civilian. I was a variable. And variables are observed. Or erased. Her name was Irene Calder. She lived off the grid in northern New Mexico, just outside Taos. I found her name in a heavily redacted PDF someone had once linked on a hidden forum called Cage Theory. It had been taken down, archived, and buried again. I had to pay for access with crypto I didn't have. But the deeper I got into this, the more I understood. Money wasn't real here. Only attention mattered. And now, something was paying attention to me. I found Irene in a trailer parked on the edge of the desert. No address, just coordinates. An old dog barked at me when I pulled up, 3-legged, one eye. When I knocked, no one answered. I was about to leave when the door creaked open. No one was there. Just a long hallway, dark and quiet. And at the end, a woman sitting in a chair, facing away. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Burned sage, metal, something chemical. "Close the door," she said. Her voice was dry, brittle like paper left in the sun. I obeyed. "Who sent you?" she asked, still not turning around. "I saw the mark," I said. "In El Paso. Michael Alden's place." At that, she stood. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone very old, or very aware that she might be watched through the bones of the world. She turned. Irene Calder was maybe in her 60s. Her eyes were pale and unfocused, but somehow too sharp. Her hands were stained with ink. Not tattoos. Symbols. Glyphs. Protective marks. One for each knuckle. "They found you early," she said. "You must have seen him." "I think so. In the white space. After the crash." "No, not him," she whispered. "Them." Her mouth twitched. "You saw the proxy. The shape they were so you can survive contact." I tried to ask what she meant, but she cut me off. "You've been tagged. Left open. You think you're remembering, but you're being fed pieces. To see how much your mind can hold before it folds." She turned to a table covered in pages. Symbols like the ones I'd seen in Alden's place. Diagrams. Maps of impossible spaces. "They're not gods," she said. "They're older than worship. They don't care if we live or die. But they need us to contain meaning. Like circuits. Like cells." I stared. "And what are they?" She looked at me and said a name I wish I could forget. Israfel, the one who sings. The name vibrated when she said it. Literally. The light above us flickered in sync with her voice. My vision blurred. Israfel was the first architect, the prototype. He sang the framework. Then he went silent. Silent? I asked. She nodded. Not by choice. They shut him down for becoming interested in us. A pause. He fell in love with a human mind. Let it hear the source code. The woman didn't survive it, and neither did he. His last echo is what people call Jesus or the messenger in your visions. I stared at her. You're saying the thing I saw was just the fragment of something forbidden, the residue of a broken architect trapped in the grid, a virus made of mercy. I felt dizzy. The room felt like it was slowly turning, like the laws of physics had become interested in the conversation and were leaning in to listen. Then Irene grabbed my wrist. Hard. Do not try to reach him again, she said. Not through prayer. Not through sleep. The system is listening now. If they detect divine interference, they'll reset your line. Reset? Erase your name from memory. You'll vanish. Even from your daughter's dreams. My chest tightened. But I need to know the truth. She leaned in. Then you need to find Gate 0. She drew a symbol on a napkin. A spiral folding into itself like an Ouroboros, split by a lightning bolt. It's not a place, she whispered. It's a when. A point in the timeline where the system is least stable. That's your only chance to see it from outside. And then she froze. Her eyes darted to the wall. They're here, she said. Outside, I heard the dog bark once, and then nothing. Silence. She pressed the napkin into my palm and shoved me toward the back door. Run. But, run. I made it to the car. Drove 30 miles before I stopped. I looked at the napkin. The symbol shimmered slightly under moonlight. My phone buzzed. No number. Just one word. Tracked. I don't remember falling asleep. One moment I was on the side of the road, engine off, the napkin from Irene still clutched in my hand. The next, I wasn't anywhere. There was no car, no desert, no time, just light. Not bright, not blinding, but intentional, like the glow inside a womb or behind closed eyes. And then I heard it, the tone, that same deep vibration, but this time layered, complex, like a choir of collapsing buildings singing in perfect harmony. I looked up, or whatever direction, up, meant here, and I saw it. A machine made of thought. A network of glowing spines, rotating spheres, and collapsing sequences, running lives like simulations, in endless nested loops. Billions. Trillions. Every person who ever lived, their choices folding into each other like origami made of soul. Each thread of human experience was playing out like a recorded function, reviewed, tested, compared. All inside this engine. A looping engine. I saw myself. At 7, dropping my sister's doll in a river. At 12, lying about it. At 31, staring at that same river, unable to remember why it made him sad. I wasn't watching memories. I was watching renderings. Versions. Each variation tested and discarded. Some of me died in childhood. Some never had a daughter. Some never saw the light. A phrase echoed through the space, but it wasn't spoken. Observed entities are processed to convergence. The engine pulsed. One thread turned red, my current life path. Deviation detected. Recursive analysis initiated. Architect override pending. I felt it. Something noticing me. Not the way you notice a mistake, but the way a farmer notices a worm in the soil. Too early. Too aware. too unstable. The light changed. The loops began to rewind. I was being undone. But something interfered. A crack split through the environment, not physical, not spatial. More like a tear in the logic of the moment. From it came that other tone, the one I had first heard in the white place. The one that hummed behind my ribs. It was him. The fragment. Israfel. Not fully, not present, just his resonance, leaking through a crack in the firewall of the engine. The machine screamed. Not audibly. Structurally. As if the presence of a wrong tone corrupted its rendering function. A message flashed inside me. Remember the fracture. The time when Gate 0 is coming. Then, collapse. I woke up in the middle of an intersection in Albuquerque, kneeling on hot pavement, cars honking, people shouting. I had driven hundreds of miles in a trance. No gas receipts. No time lapse on my phone. But the napkin was still in my hand. And now, the symbol was burned into the dashboard of the car. Not carved. Burned. The loop had broken. And I was no longer a test subject. I was a leak. I lost time again that night. I remember pulling over to breathe. Just breathe. Then, I was in a hotel room I didn't remember checking into. A key card lay on the bed, but no wallet, no ID. The room phone was off the hook, blinking red. And on the wall, drawn in something that shimmered under the light. Below the shadow line he waits. No signature. No name. Just a time. 2:44 a.m. It was 2:41. I didn't wait. I opened the door to the hallway, expecting, what I don't know. A man with eyes like fire? Government agents in black coats? My daughter reversed? But there was just a man. Ordinary. Gray hoodie. Jeans. No expression. Until he turned fully toward me, and I realized. He cast no shadow. Not in the hallway light. Not in the overhead fluorescence. Nothing. Even the floor seemed to avoid reflecting him. You're out of phase, he said. His voice was calm. Almost bored. Means you're useful now. Who are you? He raised a finger to his lips. Doesn't matter. I'm not a person anymore. I'm a variable in transit. Like you. He stepped inside. I should have stopped him. Called someone. But my body didn't move. You saw the engine, he said. Not many do and stay intact. I swallowed. Why are you here? He sat on the edge of the bed. To deliver a condition. That stopped me. A condition for what? To enter Gate 0. I leaned forward. I thought that was a place. He shook his head. Worse. It's a moment. A flaw. A single temporal slip where they lose visibility. Visibility? They can't track you inside Gate 0. They can't run predictive loops or check renders. It's the only moment in the grid where your choices belong to you. And when is it? He smiled, not kindly. That's the condition. He pulled a matchbook from his pocket. Inside was a symbol. Not drawn. Printed. A circle of glass shards around a stylized sun. The matchbook said, Virgo 1, Final Test Broadcast. 7:07 to 7:07 a.m. Witness the arrival. 7 days, he said. That's when the moment opens. During the broadcast. But only if you're aligned. Aligned with what? With your divergent self. I stared at him. I don't understand. You will. He stood. One more thing. He looked at me, dead on. No pupils. Just reflected noise. They're already rewriting your timeline. People who knew you won't remember. Places you lived will vanish. Your daughter may begin to dream in mirror script. I felt something break behind my ribs. What do I do? He walked to the door. When the sky folds wrong and the birds stop moving, run toward the sound, not away. And then he stepped outside and disappeared before reaching the end of the hallway. No flash, no smoke, just absence. I looked back at the matchbook. 7 days, 1 broadcast, 1 gate. And now I wasn't just remembering forbidden things. I was scheduled for them. They started deleting me the next morning. Not metaphorically. Literally. It began with small things. My old college sent me a "Welcome, new applicant" email. No alumni records. No transcript. A childhood friend, Mark, blocked my number. I called from a payphone. He picked up. I said his name. He asked, "Who is this?" I told him. Silence. Then, "Sorry, man. I don't know any Daniels." Click. His voice didn't shake. It wasn't fear. It was truth. I raced home, hoping to at least anchor myself in something real. My home, my books, my photos. But the lock didn't work. My key didn't fit. And when I knocked, a woman answered. Not my wife. Not even someone I'd seen before. "Can I help you?" I live here." She laughed, confused. "No, you don't." She called for her husband. A man came to the door, already dialing the police. I didn't argue. I just backed away and sat on the curb. My hands were shaking. I called my ex-wife. Number disconnected. Social media gone. Our old photos missing. Shared cloud album empty. The system wasn't killing me. It was making me fiction. Then came the voicemail. No number. No timestamp. Just the notification. "One new message. Unknown source." I hit play. And heard her. My daughter's voice. But not like usual. She sounded distant. Slowed. Like a recording that had passed through static and dream. "Daddy, if you're hearing this, they haven't found me yet." I hid behind the mirror, like the singing man said. "The one who glows when he talks." I froze. She whispered now. "They're rewriting. But you remember me because of the gate. You were always going to find it. You just forgot. Don't let them finish the loop." A pause. Then, "Follow the red birds. They're not birds. They're leaks. And don't sleep during thunder. That's when they update the memory spine." Click. That was it. I dropped the phone. Just sat in the motel chair staring at nothing, for what felt like hours. Then I looked up. Outside the window, 3 red birds sat on the telephone wire. Perfectly still. Then, one by one, they took off in the same direction. East. Toward the edge of town. Toward the broadcast tower I had seen earlier in a dream I don't remember having. I packed what little I had. The matchbook. The napkin from Irene. My cracked phone. A notebook that now had half its pages blank, as if the memories written there had dissolved from within. And I followed the birds. Because the girl on the tape still knew who I was. And that meant the gate was still open. But not for long. The red birds led me through the industrial district at dawn. Their flight wasn't natural. Not like birds. They pivoted midair, like rendered objects in a simulation. Like pixels bending to a camera that wasn't mine. At 7:06 a.m., I arrived at the Virgo 1 broadcast tower. It was taller than it had any right to be. Looming steel, pulsing with low-frequency hums I could feel more than hear. Security fencing had long rusted away. Cameras pointed nowhere. A single floodlight blinked near the base. A countdown. 7 hours and 7 minutes. The exact time the man with no shadow had told me. I approached. The birds vanished, all at once mid-flight. No flutter. No sound. Just erasure. And then I saw it. The air around the tower folded. Not metaphorically. It bent, like paper being creased in slow motion. Space itself seemed to pause, blink, then resume, slightly misaligned. And in that fold, a hole. Not black. Not dark. White. Blinding. Alive. I stepped closer. My chest felt like glass under pressure. Every memory, every word my daughter ever said to me, buzzed at the edge of erasure. And then, he was there. Not standing. Not arriving. Just present. The messenger. Not in robes. Not in a form my brain could handle. Just that voice inside the whiteness. You have come to the zeroing point. I fell to my knees. Is this gate zero? It is not a place. It is the absence between cycles, where outcomes are not yet chosen, where noise cannot be filtered. I could feel the system noticing, routines activating, failsafes. You are an exposed process, the voice said. You can fold forward, or flatten back. And then I saw it. 2 doors in the white. One showed the world I came from, half erased, empty-eyed, a looping world where my daughter would forget me forever. The other was impossible to describe. A spiraling structure of sound, intention, memory, nonlinear choice. A place outside sequence. A place where nothing could be predicted, not even love. You said I could be free, I whispered. The messenger's voice trembled. There is no freedom inside rendered systems. Only interference. And you have become that. Silence. Then the voice of my daughter, again, inside the white. I remember your stories, Daddy. Even if they take your name, I'll remember how your voice sounded when you said goodbye. That broke me. I stood, reached for the impossible door. And just before I stepped through, I asked, will I still be me? The messenger hesitated. You will be unbound. I stepped through, and everything folded. Not like death, not like sleep, more like waking up in a language I had never learned, but somehow always known. I remembered versions of myself who had made different choices. I remembered all the loops. I remembered the singing architect who broke the rules for love. I remembered the engine. And I remembered my daughter, still reaching for me. I don't know if I'm alive in the way you understand it, but I'm outside now. Not watched, not looped, just listening. And sometimes, when the sky folds and you dream in mirror script, you'll feel a warmth behind your thoughts. That's me, remembering you back from beyond the gate.